Pay attention to the woman stepping onto the porch in a faded t-shirt and pink bonnet. Her name is Tanya Lewis. She's holding her phone in one hand and her house keys in the other. The porch light above her flickers once, then steadies. It's 11:42 p.m. on a quiet street in Cherry Hill, Baltimore. Now pay attention to the man across the street, standing under the broken streetlight. He's wearing a dark hoodie, hands in his pockets, head tilted low. That man is Andre Moore, Tanya's ex-boyfriend, the one she left nearly a year ago. He's been parked there for almost 40 minutes, his car idling with the headlights off. From the camera's view, there's nothing dramatic at first, just a woman locking her front door and a man pretending to scroll his phone. But what happens next will turn that calm into a nightmare that plays out frame by frame. Tanya steps back into the house, speaking softly into the phone. He's outside again. Her voice is low, trying not to wake her 6-year-old son sleeping upstairs. Andre glances toward the porch light. For a moment, the Ring camera catches his face clearly. Eyes narrow, lips pressed tight, an expression halfway between a smirk and a dare. He takes one step closer. The doorbell chime triggers the recording again. He says something too quiet to hear, but Tanya doesn't answer. Instead, she locks the second bolt and turns off the light. The footage ends there, but it won't be the last time that camera sees him. Welcome to Crime Corner. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. Tanya Lewis was 29 years old, a customer service rep for Baltimore Gas and Energy, working the late shift from home. Every night she'd sit at a small kitchen desk near the window, answering calls from frustrated customers, her headset looped around her bun. She lived in a narrow 2-bedroom row house, brick on the outside, lavender curtains in the front window. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She shared it with her son Micah, a lively first grader who loved sneakers and SpongeBob. Tanya was soft-spoken, polite, and dependable. She paid her bills early and never made noise. Her neighbors called her the girl with the smile that hides tired eyes. She'd bought that Ring camera the month she left Andre. It made her feel safe, or at least less invisible. She didn't know it would one day become the only witness left. Andre Moore was 31, a delivery driver who worked inconsistent routes across the city. He was tall, slim, with a neat beard and a voice that could sound gentle or threatening depending on the sentence. They met at a cousin's cookout 2 summers back. He was charming, brought her a plate before she even asked, called her Sunshine. He asked about her job, her kid, her favorite food, and actually listened. At first, she thought he was different. He'd pick her up from work, cook dinner, tell her she worked too hard. It felt nice to be looked after. Then slowly, it became something else. He wanted to know every move she made, where she went, who she talked to, why she didn't answer fast enough. If she said she was tired, he'd accuse her of not wanting him around. If she went out with her sister, he'd blow up her phone with calls. He started checking her emails, her Facebook, her location. He called it protection. She called it love, until she couldn't anymore. The final argument happened late one Saturday night. Andre had shown up at her job after her shift, saying he wanted to drive her home. When she told him she already had a ride with her coworker, he slammed his fist against her car door, hard enough to make her jump. She didn't wait for an apology. That night, she packed 2 bags, grabbed Micah, and moved into her sister Brianna's apartment. Andre texted her nonstop for 3 days, first begging, then threatening. When she blocked him, he made new accounts. When she stopped responding, he started showing up. She got the protective order 2 months later. It didn't stop him. He said paper couldn't keep him away from his family. The first Ring alert came at 12:09 a.m. one night in March. She woke to the soft chime on her phone, motion detected at front door. The clip showed Andre standing at the edge of the porch holding a stuffed animal, Micah's favorite cartoon bear. He whispered, "I just want to see my son." He wasn't his father. He just said it that way to make her open the door. When police arrived, he was already gone. They told her to keep documenting everything. So she did. Weeks turned into months, and the clips piled up. Andre walking past the porch at midnight. Andre's car parked across the street, engine off. Andre standing under the same light post, just staring. Each time she called police, they made a note, but he was always gone before anyone showed up. One officer told her, "You're doing the right thing. Just keep your phone close." She already slept with it under her pillow, By June, he was coming 3 nights a week. Sometimes he left flowers, sometimes letters, sometimes nothing but his shadow. Her neighbors started whispering, wondering why the same car was always there. One morning, she found a note wedged between her storm door and the frame. The paper was folded into a neat square. It said, "You can't avoid me forever." That same week, she found her mailbox pried open. Inside was a photo, an old one of her and Andre smiling at a Ravens game. Across the bottom, he'd written, "You looked happier with me." That's when she started parking her car a block away, so he wouldn't know if she was home. She put Micah's toys inside every night instead of leaving them on the porch. Every sound became a reason to check the doorbell feed. By August, she was ready for a new start. She'd been offered a promotion at her job, a supervisor position that came with relocation to a downtown office. Better pay, better hours, and a new address. She told no one but Brianna and her mother. She planned to move quietly the following month, but someone else found out. A co-worker posted a congratulatory comment under a photo of Tanya and tagged her location. Andre saw it. The same night, her Ring camera caught his car driving by slowly, headlights flashing once before turning off. The day before she disappeared, Tanya worked her regular shift. She came home around 10 p.m., kissed Micah goodnight, and called her sister. They talked about furniture for the new apartment, laughed about old memories, and hung up around 11:15. At 11:30, the Ring camera detected motion. Andre walked up the steps carrying a small paper bag. He placed it by the door and whispered, "Congratulations on your new life." Then he walked back to his car. The camera caught his license plate clearly this time. Tanya forwarded the clip to her sister and texted, "He knows I'm moving." Brianna replied instantly, "I'm coming over tomorrow." That would be the last text she'd ever send. At 11:41 p.m., the doorbell activated again. Andre was back. This time his hood was up and he wore gloves. He rang the bell twice. The microphone recorded Tanya's voice through the speaker. "Andre, go home." He replied, "You think I'm leaving without saying goodbye?" She didn't answer. He leaned closer to the camera. "Open the door or I'll make you." The door stayed shut. Then came the sound of glass shattering. The camera fell sideways, catching a glimpse of his arm reaching through the window to unlock it. The footage cut out. The next morning, Brianna called but got no answer. At first, she assumed Tanya was asleep after a long shift. But by noon, she still hadn't replied. She texted again, still nothing. By 3 p.m., panic settled in. She drove across town to Cherry Hill, parked out front, and saw Tanya's car in the driveway. The porch light was still on, even in daylight. The front door was closed, but the frame looked splintered near the lock. Brianna pushed the door open. The living room was a mess. Furniture overturned, lamp broken, a coffee mug shattered on the floor. Upstairs, she found Micah asleep in his bed, safe but crying in his sleep. Downstairs, Tanya's phone and purse were missing. Brianna dialed 911. Officers arrived within minutes. They reviewed the Ring footage automatically uploaded to the cloud. Andre's face was clear in the final recording. By 6 p.m., police had already issued a bolo for his vehicle. Detectives canvassed the area, pulling footage from nearby houses and corner stores. At 12:14 a.m., a store camera a few blocks away caught Andre's car passing by, trunk slightly open. The timestamp matched the hour after the break-in. They traced his next movement through gas station footage near Patapsco Avenue. There he was again, wearing the same hoodie, buying bleach, bottled water, and gloves. The cashier later told detectives he looked calm, even smiled. He paid in cash, then drove south toward the industrial park by the river. 2 days later, a search team found Tanya's gray Honda Civic parked near a service road leading into a wooded area. The driver's side seat was pushed all the way back, and the floor mats were damp. Inside, they found a single earring, a half-empty water bottle, and her work ID badge. In the trunk, faint traces of cleaning fluid and mud. A drag mark led from the car into the trees. By sundown, police brought in dogs and floodlights. They followed the trail down to the water's edge, where they found a broken phone case and a small lavender hair tie. The current was too strong for divers that night, but the area was sealed off. The next morning, they went back. It was a patrol officer who first saw it, a flash of fabric beneath the reeds. They called it in immediately. Tanya's body was found partially submerged near the Patapsco River, caught in debris along the bank. The medical examiner confirmed her identity that evening. According to the autopsy, she had bruises on her neck and arms and water in her lungs. Cause of death, blunt force trauma and drowning. Time of death, within an hour of the break-in. It wasn't quick. She had fought back. Andre Moore's car was found 2 days later at a motel in Laurel, Maryland. The manager said he checked in under a fake name and paid in cash. Surveillance footage from the motel lobby showed him carrying a duffel bag and wearing the same hoodie from the doorbell video. When police entered the room, he was sitting on the bed staring at the wall, TV off, phone beside him. He didn't resist. When asked where Tanya was, he said quietly, "She shouldn't have made me do that." Detectives took him into custody without incident. In his car trunk, they found muddy shoes, cleaning supplies, and a small envelope addressed to Micah. Inside the envelope were old photos of Andre and Tanya, each one torn in half. Investigators pieced everything together. 11:30 p.m., Andre parks 2 houses down. 11:41 p.m., doorbell camera captures confrontation. 12:08 a.m., street cam records his car heading toward the industrial road. 12:47 a.m., gas station footage shows him buying cleaning items. 1:15 a.m., phone signal pings near Patapsco River before going dead. Everything fit. DNA from Tanya's fingernails matched his. Soil samples from his trunk matched the riverbank. The case was airtight. When news broke, the video spread across social media within hours. People replayed the footage, the moment he smiled at the camera, over and over. Neighbors lined the street with candles and flowers. Reporters called it the doorbell murder. Brianna couldn't bring herself to watch the clip. She just said, "That camera saw everything we didn't want to believe." By the time the sun rose over Cherry Hill that morning, Tanya Street was lined with police cars and news vans. Neighbors watched from porches, whispering in disbelief. The blue ring camera light still blinked faintly beside the doorframe, half cracked but recording. Every few minutes, it lit again as investigators moved in and out, cataloging what was left behind. Inside the small house, crime scene techs bagged items, broken glass, a hair tie, a torn shirt sleeve. Micah had been taken to Brianna's apartment before dawn. He didn't see the cameras, didn't hear the questions, didn't know yet that his mother wasn't coming home. Detective Lionel Hodge from the Baltimore City Major Crimes Unit took the case. He'd worked homicides for 19 years, but said later this one felt different. "Everything we needed was there," he told reporters. "The cameras did what people couldn't. They saw it all." For the next 2 weeks, the investigation moved fast. Cell tower data placed Andre Moore's phone near the river minutes after Tanya's final recording ended. His delivery route GPS logs showed he deviated from his assigned path that night by 43 miles. Receipts from the gas station matched the time detectives believed he was disposing of evidence. Each finding stacked on the last until the picture was complete. A man who'd planned every step except how to get away with it. Inside the evidence room, everything was laid out in neat rows. The bleach bottle with his fingerprints, the gloves still damp inside. The small piece of door frame splintered from Tanya's house. A USB drive recovered from his duffel bag containing screenshots of her Facebook profile and photos of her car parked outside her home on different dates. Andre had been watching her for months. He had pictures of every time she left for work, every friend who visited, even screenshots of her job offer email that she hadn't posted publicly. Detectives realized he'd hacked into her old Gmail account using the password they once shared. During interrogation, Andre said almost nothing. He sat hunched over the table, eyes down, shoulders rigid. When Detective Hodge asked him why he went to her house that night, Andre answered, "She was supposed to talk to me." "About what?" He shrugged. "About us." Every other question ended with silence. No apology, no denial, just stillness. When they told him they'd found her body, his expression didn't change. He asked for water. The official report arrived 3 days later. It confirmed what detectives already suspected. Tanya had sustained bruising to her wrists and arms, consistent with a struggle. There were abrasions on her neck from manual pressure, and water in her lungs indicated she was still alive when she entered the river. The medical examiner listed the cause of death as homicide by drowning and blunt force trauma. Toxicology came back clean. No alcohol, no sedatives. She'd been fully awake, fully aware. That single page of findings became the heart of the prosecution's case. 2 nights later, friends and neighbors gathered outside Tanya's home. Someone set a table on the porch with candles and framed photos. Brianna stood beside Micah, who clutched a teddy bear almost as big as him. The same bear Andre once left on the doorstep months before. The air smelled of wax and rain. A neighbor read scripture, and someone else played a gospel song softly from a phone speaker. When the candles flickered, people said it felt like the street itself was breathing with them. The camera mounted beside the door captured it all. Silent witnesses remembering the woman whose own camera told her story. Local news stations replayed the ring footage every hour. Baltimore residents flooded social media with the hashtag Justice for Tanya. Advocates for domestic violence reform held interviews, pointing out how many times Tanya had called for help before the murder. She did everything right, one attorney said on camera. She left, she reported, she installed cameras, and still the system waited for evidence that came too late. Within weeks, the mayor's office announced a new initiative, faster response protocols for repeat harassment calls. People quietly called it Tanya's Law. Almost a year passed before the trial began. Every seat in the Baltimore County Courthouse was filled on opening day. Family, reporters, and survivors of abuse who had followed the case from the beginning. Andre Moore entered wearing a plain gray suit, shackled at the wrists and ankles. He looked smaller than before, his beard gone, his eyes blank. The prosecutor began with the first ring clip. The lights dimmed, and the jury watched Tanya standing on her porch, phone in hand, whispering, "He's outside again." Then they saw Andre smile at the camera. When the video ended, no one in the room moved. "This," the prosecutor said, pointing at the frozen image on the screen, "is the moment before fear turned fatal." Over 7 days, the state laid out its evidence. They played every clip, each visit, each note, every approach to her porch. Detectives testified about the timeline built from GPS, receipts, and the smartwatch data that logged his heart rate spiking near the river. The forensic expert showed photos of soil samples that matched perfectly between his car mats and the riverbank. A digital forensics officer explained how Andre had accessed Tanya's email and tracked her move. It was methodical, not impulsive. The defense argued he lost control after seeing online that she planned to leave town. They called it a crime of passion, but the evidence, cleaning supplies, cash withdrawals, fake motel name, told another story. This was planning. When Brianna took the stand, the courtroom grew silent. She spoke clearly, her voice trembling only once. She was scared, but she tried to stay calm for her son, she said. "She told me, if anything ever happens, check the camera first." The prosecutor asked if Tanya ever stopped loving Andre. Brianna shook her head. She stopped believing he could change. That line would later appear in every news headline. After 9 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. Everyone stood as the foreman read the decision. Guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. Andre stared straight ahead. He didn't blink. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, he answered quietly, "She wouldn't listen." Brianna closed her eyes. It was over, but it didn't feel like victory. The judge spoke slowly, his voice steady. "You planned this. You stalked, you threatened, and you silenced a woman who wanted peace. You will never again walk free." He sentenced Andre Moore to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Reporters waited outside the courthouse for Brianna. She held Micah's hand and said only, "She warned us with her camera. Now we have to listen to the next woman before the camera does." Weeks later, city crews repaired Tanya's porch and replaced the broken light fixture. The new tenant left the ring camera up, saying it made her feel safer. Neighbors said the street felt different now, quieter but watchful. Baltimore police launched a new pilot program that sent officers automatically to addresses with repeated 911 hang-ups tied to domestic violence calls. The first page of the training manual featured Tanya's photo. At the gas company where she once worked, her co-workers placed her headset on a frame photo with the caption, "She answered every call but the last one." Brianna took custody of Micah officially that fall. He started first grade at a new school. Teachers described him as quiet but observant, always watching the door when someone knocked. On weekends, Brianna took him to the river, where a memorial bench now stood near the spot Tanya was found. The engraving read, "Forever Seen." He would leave small things there, a toy car, a crayon, a note written in uneven letters that said, "Hi, Mom." Churches across West Baltimore held services in Tanya's honor. Pastors preached about love that turns into control and urged members to look out for friends trapped in silence. Local barbershops displayed flyers with domestic violence hotline numbers beside photos of her smiling. In neighborhoods across the city, people began installing doorbell cameras, not just for protection, but as symbols of awareness. One community leader said, "If her camera hadn't been rolling, we might still be looking for her." 6 months later, a local news network aired a special titled "The Doorbell That Wouldn't Stop Recording." It replayed the timeline. Each clip, each location, each choice that could have changed the ending. Viewers saw Andre walking toward the porch for the last time, the flash of his face before the screen went dark. The documentary ended not with music, but with the real sound of the camera's chime, sharp, mechanical, final. The program aired nationwide within a week. Calls to domestic violence hotlines spiked across Maryland. Reporters later learned that Andre Moore had been placed in solitary confinement after multiple threats from other inmates. He never spoke publicly again. In interviews, detectives said he never expressed regret, only frustration that the footage ruined his side of the story. But his side never mattered anymore. The evidence had spoken. A year after the verdict, Maryland officially passed the Tanya Lewis Emergency Response Act. It required police to classify repeat domestic disturbance calls as threats in progress rather than non-urgent. Advocates said it saved lives before they became stories. In classrooms for new police recruits, instructors played the first clip, the one of Tanya whispering, "He's outside again." They paused the video before the break-in. This, the instructor would say, is when action should have started. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share, and stay tuned for more stories.